Hi, welcome to Lymphoma Blog 5, 2020. I'm just gazing out the window because it's a beautiful day. So we talked a little bit about the current situation yesterday and how it impacted on me and how it took the NHS quite a long time before I actually got any information about whether I was actually vulnerable or not. And in fact, in the interim time, two things had happened. One, I'd had a telephone appointment with my oncologist. So the current situation is I'm on what they call wait and watch, and probably will be for the rest of my life. So I normally have an appointment with the guy that I call Foxy Loxy. And what happens on those occasions is I have a blood test, and that's the first thing you do actually. And then I go in to see Chris, and he looks at the blood results for platelets and stuff like that, and they're usually a good indicator of how my general health looks. And so that's a comfort, because you have to put that in the context of I had a grade 4 tumour in my groin, which was the high grade B cell lymphoma, but nobody found it. So whilst I mentioned that I had pain, there was no noticeable lump. So if you have a lump in your neck, which is where some lymphomas show themselves, you're going to see it, and you're quite probably going to feel it if you can't see it. But on me, nobody. And I'm not, I'm a plump woman, but I'm not humongously fat. And so it seemed rather bizarre that I had a tumour that I think it was 8 centimetres or something, that nobody could feel. But that's the truth. So in many ways, in my psychology, the only way I know I'm okay is if I see Chris, and if I have a blood test, and if he has a poke about, because I always trust other people to find things more than I trust myself anyway, or to validate that I can't find anything. So having a telephone appointment was okay, but not entirely satisfactory, because when you're in a situation like this, you never know when it's going to, if you like, rear its ugly head again. Because as some people have said on Facebook streams, they've known someone with lymphoma and they didn't have anything again for 20 years. A lot of people cope fine, but many of them also never had the excuse me, the more serious side, the grade 4 tumour, which is why I am watched relatively carefully, I suppose. So then 3 months after that, what we said with Chris was we would arrange to have a blood test, and he said I could either have it in my local surgery or I could go in. Well, after that further 3 months passed, lockdown for everybody had eased. For me, I was still advised to be careful, but I thought, I'd really like to go in and have my blood tested. So I did go in, and in the interim time over the phone, in those first 3 months, he had actually listened to what I'd said about not being able to get any supermarket shopping myself or whatever, an online delivery. And he sent through a letter to actually say, would this be helpful? And he sent me a letter to say this woman is shielding and could do with your support, kind of thing, which I didn't end up using because, as I said, I was being supported very ably by people in the village. And then later, Waitrose came through and said that I was indeed on the vulnerable list, because that's the problem. You have to actually be recognised by the NHS and then placed on the list. So I ended up on the list because they then categorised all people with blood cancers as being high risk, because blood cancer, by its nature, even the leukemias, all of them, presumably sickle cell anemia, anything that puts you in the haematology department, technically can affect your immune system, and you can be categorized as immunodeficient or having a suppressed immune system. So I just wanted to mention that. So after lockdown started to ease a little bit, obviously as I live fairly rurally, she says, gazing out the window again, um, I am not really seeing anybody or doing anything at all. But I started to take minor risks because there's also part of me that doesn't like being dependent on other people. And also, I worry about them feeling taken advantage of. I know it's up to them to say if they are or they are not, but I am the sort of person who worries about that kind of thing. So, one of my neighbours was going to the post office for me once every 2 weeks. We arranged because I thought it'd be unfair to ask her to do it sooner, and I do all the mail orders for the bands I'm in, so I knew I needed to get stuff out there, but I couldn't necessarily do it on my own. So a few weeks after lockdown, so maybe we let the first month go past, and now I'm doing it myself. So that is what I hinted at yesterday about calculated risks. I am taking the occasional calculated risk, one of which happens to be going to the post office once a week to mail order things, and it's relatively safe. It's odd, the customers, they have a system to only allow two in, but I've been in there where the only way out is either past somebody else queuing for the poster very closely, because this is a tiny place, or past the young assistant who isn't wearing a mask, who's stacking the shelves. So, this is what I mean about calculated risk, and that's the same for all of you. It's just in my case, the odds are slightly more against me. And if I felt truly, let's say, if things persist in the direction they're going, it may be something that I decide is a risk too far. But at the moment, I went again today. It feels like an okay thing to do. I am still staying well. I'm not overexposed. So there'll be another couple of blogs just to finish off this year's blogs. But thank you for listening to me waffling on. Bye. Cup of tea time.